Hey there guys, how's it going? My name's The Reaper, and in today's video I'm going to be taking you butchers at Battle Brothers. So Battle Brothers is an interesting turn-based RPG. Basically the premise of the game is you are running your own, in a medieval pseudo-fantasy realm, you are running a small mercenary company. And so basically the game starts out, you were supposedly quite a large, quite well-regarded mercenary company. But at the start of the game you get your unit gets ambushed, and you basically the tutorial level is a few of your guys escaping. And you basically have to try and rebuild your company from there, hire more guys, get more equipment, take on contracts, build up relations with various factions, take bigger and bigger contracts, fight more powerful enemies, and basically try and regain the glory and kind of prestige that your mercenary unit had. So this is the overall map, so I'm just going to show that now. So I'm currently on pause mode, just so I can look around the map. It's basically easy as like, this is my company here with the flag, and it just says how many guys I've got in the top right, so that's my 9 guys unit. I'll show you my faction momentarily. And so this you just click to get around the maps. There's various sort of settlements you can go to. So settlements, as you might expect, they're your kind of hubs for getting your equipment, food, supplies, hiring new people, and acquiring contracts. So the settlements are broken down into various factions. So I've got the red faction here, there's a green one, there's a couple of independent settlements, and basically as you continually do repeated contracts for certain settlements or within certain factions, you can build up your reputation, you can get sort of cheaper goods, you can get more people, you can get sort of more ins with them, so you can get better contracts. And if you build up relations with your factions, if you continue to do quests and various things for those and do various favours, you'll build up more and more of them, so you can get more and more lucrative deals. So that's basically how the game works. So as you go around the map, you're going to have to encounter various enemies, so I'm going to show you the combat a bit later on, but the main crux of your income is going to be through getting contracts. You see in the top right here, I've got return item, so I've got that from this settlement here, which is Hemel. And I need to follow the footprints, find and track down some guy's lost home and knowledge, and I'm going to get paid a certain amount for doing so. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to a settlement. So before I get into the combat, I'm going to show you my faction and kind of how the kind of supply side mechanics works. It's kind of a balance, a bit like XCOM. It's a balance of out of combat sort of party management, and then in combat doing the best you can to keep you guys alive and complete as many contracts as you can. So let's just show off while we pause the sort of faction options. So if I click on roster here, this is my roster of currently 9 guys, so you can have up to 12, and I think later on you can get up to 20. That's a little bit later on in the game. So if I just show off some of the stats I've got, so these are my 9 guys, they all look quite unique, which is nice. So when you're hiring guys, they're all going to have sort of unique personalities, unique names, and it just makes you feel like kind of a ragtag group of mercenaries from various different backgrounds. They've got different types of equipment, and it makes each character feel more unique on the battlefield, and you get kind of attached to certain things, which is a really nice little perk. So if we just use our... Let's use our new guy as an example. This is, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. I think it's, well actually I'm going to try it. I think it's Leberek the Quiet. So he's our new monk. I've just picked him up recently. He hasn't fought a battle yet. I've given him a two-handed axe, and he's still got his monk's robe. Haven't got him any decent proper armour yet, but we're going to see how he gets on. So here's his stats. So he's got head armour and chest armour and his body armour. So as you go around, if you're taking hits, your armour is going to absorb a certain amount of damage. It's going to give you a certain amount of protection. But that's how much health he's got. Eventually your armor is going to break, so stronger armor is going to last a bit longer before it actually gets broken, so it's going to give you a bit more protection. Health, pretty obvious. Action points is everyone gets 9 action points per turn, and various actions are going to use a certain amount of points. So walking over maybe flat ground will use 2 of your action points. Walking over up a hill might take say 3, or walking over uneven ground or a swamp might take 3 or 4 action points. And your basic attacks or special attacks are going to use some as well. So a standard two-handed attack, which is split man, this is regular two-handed attack, is going to cost him 6 action points, whereas if I just have my one-handed guy, it's only going to cost 4, so you have a bit more flexibility with maybe one-handed weapons, but you only get a certain amount of action points a turn, and you have to decide what your character is going to do with those each round. Fatigue is, I'm going to come back to fatigue because it deserves a bit more of an explanation, because it's kind of one of the more unique mechanics of the game. Morale is also very important. Essentially, your morale in combat determines your buffs and debuffs depending on what your morale is. So at the moment these guys have got steady. So steady is not, you got no penalties because you're not sort of panicked, but you got no buffs because you're not in a really good morale state. But basically, as you do well in combat, you'll gain morale, so your guys do better. As they do badly, if they get guys killed, they'll start wavering, they'll get penalties, and eventually, if they get their morale really low, they might try and run in battle, you'll lose control of them. So morale is very important. Resolve is basically, the higher your resolve, the more difficult it is for your morale to drop. So high resolve means your guys can stick around a bit longer in a bad situation. Initiative is affected by armor. Initiative is the higher the value, the higher in that turn order. So it's broken down into turn-based turns. And the higher your initiative, the more likely you are to go first, or I think you are going to go first. So I've got 84 initiative. So your equipment is going to affect your initiative, and it's going to affect your fatigue. As I say, I'm going to come back to that. So if I unequip his axe, he's going to go up to 98 initiative because his axe is going to affect that. It's going to affect his fatigue as well. It says maximum fatigue minus 14. If I equip it, it's going to drop his initiative. So it's a way basically of balancing. If you have a guy with loads of armor and loads of weapons, and then maybe some secondary weapons he can switch back and forth from, he's going to have lower initiative. The more gear you give him, the lower initiative he's going to have. If I pop a shield in his inventory, he's going to go down to 79. So your kind of more lightly armed, quicker guys are going to have higher initiative. So it's not always maybe the best idea to put loads of heavy armor on everything, because your opponent's always going to go first. So you've got to think about what gear you want on what people. Melee skill, you like to hit with your likeliness to hit with melee attacks. Range skill, likeliness to hit with ranged attacks. Melee defense and ranged defense, respectively, decrease the chance you'll be hit by those types of attacks. How much damage you're doing depends on your weapon, depends on your perks, depends on your level. How effective you are against armor, so different weapon types have different effectiveness against armor. So this axe is quite good against armor, ignores 40% of it, and it does 125% damage against armor. So this two-handed axe is quite a good anti-armor weapon. Your chance of hitting a head for critical damage, and that's going to go against head armor. And your vision range, so if you equip your guys with maybe quite obscuring visored helmets, they're going to lose vision. They won't be able to see as far in combat. So maybe it's not a good idea to put, for example, big sort of plate armoured helmets on your archers, because they're not going to be able to see as far. It just makes a way of balancing the game. You can't just have a guy who can do everything at once. There's various limitations. So fatigue I was talking about earlier, similarly to initiative, each of your piece of equipment and each of your movements or attacks you use are going to cost action points, and they're going to build up your fatigue as well. For example, split man is your regular attack. It's going to build up 15 fatigue. Round swing is a special attack. It's going to do 35, and split shield is only 25. It's another special attack he has. If I keep doing all these special attacks every turn, my fatigue is really going to start to build up. If that fatigue, if my remaining fatigue is lower than what I want to do it with, I can't do that attack. So if I've got 60 out of 67 fatigue because I've used too many special abilities, I can't use split man because it uses 15 fatigue. So if I'm in combat and I've got too much fatigue to do anything, I have to do nothing with that character, and they'll recover a bit, so next turn they get to attack. Additionally, as I said here, so minus 14 for this axe. If I unequip this axe, his fatigue is going to go up to 81. If I give it to him, it's going to go down to 69. So the more armour and the more weapons, the more equipment you put on someone, the lower their fatigue is going to be. So they might be very tough, they might be very well equipped. However, it's balanced by the fact that they're going to be able to do less, they're going to be able to move around less, they're going to be able to use their special abilities less, because their fatigue is going to build up too quickly. So certain characters might be quite good if they've got a good standard fatigue, or they've got perks, which I'll show you in a second, which you get from leveling up, which make them better at wearing armour, or they get less fatigue from wearing armour and using heavy weapons. It's not always a good idea just to throw your guys all with heavy armour, because they're going to have low fatigue values, and they're going to get burnt out too quickly, and they'll have to spend turns doing nothing to recover that. So fatigue is an interesting way that the game uses to balance what stuff you can give to what people. So if I go to Asbjorn here, he's a bit higher level, he's 66. My other guy here is 88, he's quite lightly armed, he's got a pitchfork, which means he can attack from 2 rows. And as well as all your stats, you guys have got kind of different unique abilities. So whatever weapons you have determine your abilities. So axes, you can see you've got split shield, so axes are quite good at taking down shields. The pitchfork can attack through 2 people, so you can have guys behind your main line attacking like a sporting attack. Shield, you can do shield wall or knockbacks, and the spears are quite good, you can put up a spear wall as well. So a spear and shield, not very high damage, but really good for kind of a shield wall defensive utility. Swords have got riposte, which is quite nice, so if the enemy misses an attack and you have riposte up, you can do a counter attack. And you've just got various sort of weapons types of that. So whatever weapons you give your guys determine the special abilities they can use in combat. So different weapons are good against different types. Maces, I believe, have stunning attacks. So if I equip a mace, he's got a standard bash attack and he's got a knocking out attack, which is good. So if you have a guy with a mace, you can knock a target out and then just prevent him from doing stuff for too long, which is nice. And additionally, adding to the uniqueness of your characters, when you hire them, you don't get detailed accounts of exactly your character's stats. You only get a rough idea of their background. I'll show you this in a minute. But they all have kind of unique perks. So Kurt started out quite early on with me. So his background is a companion. He started with me from right at the start of the game and he's still alive. So he's probably a little bit better than the rest of them. He's got his higher level as well. So he's kind of one of your early game reliable allies. And he's got plus 10 initiative because he's got the quick perk as well. And if I switch to another character, maybe there'll be one with a debuff. So this guy's got a rational, so every morale check he has randomly gets plus 10 or minus 10. But he's also got fearless, who gets plus 10 resolve. He's one of my companions as well. So he's kind of one of the reliable guys from the start. But if we go to Ludolf here, he's actually doing quite well. He's now hit level 4. He has got Dastard, so he always starts combat at wavering morale, which is really annoying. So you don't know these things necessarily when you hire people, but unfortunately I hired him, and he's got the Dastard thing, so he always starts at wavering morale. So wavering morale basically gives you minus 10%, I think it is, to several important stats, so that's bad. So in combat he's not going to be as good, and he's more likely to drop down to fleeing, which means he basically goes, no, I've had enough of this, and he'll run off. So morale is very, very important in the game. You need to manage that as well as fighting ability. And on top of that, you can also pick up injuries. So he's also picked up an injury. So at the moment, until that heals, he's at minus 25% melee and range skill, which is quite a lot, which is not good. And you'll have to try and heal injuries, and you don't want to necessarily throw yourself in combat if your guys are injured. On top of that, you've also got the kind of, I'm going to call it spirits for lack of a better word. I think it is a term, but basically you have the spirits of all your crew. So you see you've got these faces next to all your characters. So in this case, this guy I've just hired, thankfully he came with plus 10 hit points because he was tough, which is quite nice. And he's in good spirit, which is 62% morale. He's just joined us, so he's got a 25% chance to start with confident instead of steady. Confident morale gives you plus 10, and he will have to lose more morale before he actually gets to a point where he's getting debuffed and lost. The rest of the guys are currently contented, so this gets affected by various things that have happened. So we've won a battle recently, we visited a new town, but one of my guys who has been with me from the start unfortunately died in my last battle, so he got a penalty for that. So how recent events and how you manage your guys are going to affect their state of morale. So if all these guys have good spirits, they're going to start with confident morale, so they're going to go in with a buff to their stats. However, if I take them all in when they've got low morale, they're not going to do as well. So you've got to pick your fights, you've got to have management outside of combat to actually make sure your guys are in full fighting order. They are kind of individuals, they're unique. The idea is it hits home that they're people, you have to manage them properly, or they're not going to want to fight, which is quite nice. So I've got a couple of guys I can level up here. So there's Gerald, our crossbow guy, he's quite useful. So if I level him up, I can pick 3 stats to level up. Let's go, he's our crossbow guy, so let's give him plus 4 range skill. His initiative's quite important. I like him going first because he's a ranged attacker, so he can maybe get an extra attack before the enemy goes, so let's get that one. Hit points isn't particularly necessary for him because he's normally at the back. Resolve isn't too bad. Let's go for fatigue. He builds up quite a lot of fatigue using his crossbow. I'm going to switch over to his crossbow. So again, not to have too much fatigue on my archers and not to drop their initiative too much. I've only given them one-handed weapons instead of two-handed weapons if they need to switch. So if he needs to switch weapon in combat, he's only got minus 4 fatigue. I'm not going to give him a two-handed weapon to have on his back, otherwise it's going to slow him down. So you've got to think about what you want to equip your guys with. And because if he's only using that, he's got no offhand weapon, so he gets a plus 25% damage penalty for using double grip. But we'll start him out with a crossbow just to make sure. I'll make sure our bow-armed guy has the bow as well. I've also given him the quick hands perk, which means he can switch to his sword in combat with no action point penalty. So normally it takes a few of your 9 action points to switch weapons. However, because I've given him that, he can switch from being an archer to a melee fighter when I need him to, a bit more flexibly. So this guy, so Gerald has just leveled up. Ludolf that's leveled up as well. Let's give him some melee skill, some health, and let's give him a bit more resolve because he always starts with low morale, so I don't want it dropping any further, so morale is quite important for him. And they both get a perk. So let's start with our crossbow guy. So backstabber. So each time you level up you get another row of perks, so this is just like another little buff. Running horn, taunt, don't want taunt. Don't need brawny, he's not using a shield. I think I might go backstabber with this guy, which basically means if I do a flanking attack, which I'll try and show you later on, I get a 10% bonus. So the bonus hit chance in melee is doubled to plus 10% for each ally surrounding and distracting your target. So if I switch to his sword and then try and flank him, he's going to do a bit more damage. So let's go for that. And let's go with our other guy. Let's see if we can... Don't want to give him that. I'll give him shield expert. So his shield defense bonus is raised by 25%, and it also bonuses when he's using shield wall, so this is quite nice to keep him alive. Or I could go with taunt. He's probably not tough enough to take the taunt. Or I could take the... I could take brawling with him actually, so he gets less, as I was saying earlier, so he gets less of a fatigue penalty for his armour and his helmet. So he's got, it's only minus 6, and that one's got no though, so let's just go with shield expert. It's got an obvious one to go for. So I've leveled those guys up. So before I go into the combat and do my quest, I'm going to quickly go to my town here just to show you what that's like. This might be quite a long video, but I'll try and explain everything best I can. And this is what happens when you go to a marketplace. You can get a contract, but I've already got one, so if you wanted a contract you could get one there. And I'm going to go to the marketplace because you see these 5 stats here. When you're going around, you've got your how much gold you've got, how much food you got. So your guys, as you go around, are going to consume food. Tools and supplies. So your weapons and armor are going to get damaged in fights. So So your guys will repair their own kit, but they need the tools to do it, so that's how many tools I've got left, so I probably need to get a few more. Ammunition and medical supplies, as you might expect. When you're going around, you guys can heal injuries over a certain period of time, but they will need medical supplies to do that. So I've got to keep my guys well stocked, and I can just see what my stash and my guys look like here. So I've got a bit of food going on, but probably need to get a bit more. So let's go to, if I wanted to hire a new guy, let's show you that. So as I was talking about, when you hire a guy, you don't really get a particularly detailed description of their stats or how good they're going to be. The only indication is how much they're going to cost per day, their hiring cost, and the game just gives you a background to what they're like. So Gerlach is a farmhand, so it says farmhands are used to hard physical labour, so maybe he's got good hit points, good melee skill, and maybe he's quite tough. And this guy is a tailor. It says they're not used to hard physical labour. There's stuff like monk, so monks are not particularly tough, but they do have quite good resolve, it says, so it gives you a rough idea of how good they're going to be. It might say militia, they might have a bit of background training, so they've probably got a bit of basic experience. So you only get a rough idea what they're going to be like. They might turn out to have good perks or bad perks. To make the game a bit more realistic and a bit more challenging, you have to kind of take a chance a few times. So I'm not going to hire anyone at the moment because I'm a bit poor, but I am going to go to the food screen and try and buy some food. One thing I will say, I think the UI could use a little bit of work. It's serviceable, but it's a little bit clunky. A minor gripe, but I think it's worth mentioning. So tools are unfortunately quite expensive, so you'll have different prices for different goods wherever you are. So if I've got good relations for a faction, and I go to a city where they've got loads of different equipment, it might be a bit cheaper than buying in some outlying village that you've never been to before and you haven't done any quests for. So you've got to sort of pick and choose where you think the best place to get equipment might be. So let's just get... I've probably got just about enough tools, haven't been in a big fight recently. And just in case I have to go for a long way, I might get a bit more bread, just to make sure I've got enough. I don't want to spend too much. And we can probably go off and do our quest. So that's leave there. Some places will have more stuff. So a temple, you can put a guy in here to heal an injury more quickly, just so you can get back in the fight quicker. You don't have to spend too much time walking around. So you will get more options based on where you are. So sometimes you'll have a port here to the left, so you can sail to different towns. So I believe there's one in Sandorf. There's a port there, so I could just sail to Sundheim, or I could sail around maybe to Harkenstad just to get around quicker, to pay a small fee. But saying Harkenstad's quite a big town, I've done a few quests for them. And they've got a temple, a barber, a tavern, and a harbour. So a tavern, you could buy your guys drinks, maybe boost their morale. And you've got various options. It's all about kind of pre-planning. So that's probably enough of the explanation now. Let's get our boys moving. So I've paid my daily wage. You just heard that go there. One thing I will say, we'll just pause briefly and say, well, I'll just do it as we're moving around. One thing I will say for the game is when you're picking contracts, the only indication you get for the difficulty of the contract is the payment. So 510 crowns, I'm reasonably early on in the game. I found 510 is probably one of the higher payments I've had so far. Normally I tend to get around 300. So the only assumption I've got about the difficulty of the quest that I'm aware is 300 is the payment is going to determine roughly how difficult it is. So there was a contract that was 1,000 gold. I did it, and perhaps unsurprisingly, I got completely destroyed and decided to reload my game because I didn't want to have to restart from scratch with a big dead company. This, to be fair, might be a deliberate decision on the part of the developers. They might go, well, it's a medieval world. You're not going to have very detailed accounts. You've only got hearsay accounts of what happened. You have to kind of take a chance on contracts. So this, to be fair, might be a deliberate decision, but you have very little indication of the difficulty or what sort of enemies you're going to be fighting apart from the payment. So probably the higher the payment, the more difficult it's going to be. I just thought it's worth mentioning. I understand the decision perhaps if it was deliberate, but it is a bit annoying having to guess exactly who you're dealing with and what sort of difficulty it is based purely on the payment. And I will say that I'm not playing on Iron Man mode, so similar to anyone who's played XCOM, there's Iron Man mode and there's non-Iron Man mode. Basically, what that means is if you're playing on Iron Man mode, you can't load a previous save. So whatever happens, you are locked into that. You can't go back and reload. You can't change your mind. You are stuck with that decision. I'm not playing in Iron Man mode, so if it goes wrong, I can just reload and save. But considering if I'm playing in Iron Man mode and I don't really know what I'm dealing with in a contract, if I take a contract that I think the payment's not too high, I can probably deal with that, and it turns out to be really difficult, I've got no way to go back. So I think it would be a good idea, or it would have been a good idea, just to put that in where you could have some indication, just a rough difficulty estimation of the contract and maybe what sort of enemies you might be dealing with. So occasionally, as you're going on, you're going to get random encounters as well, random things. Your party, just one of your guys comes up to you and says something. So during camp, with practice theatrics, Asbjorn approaches you and lets loose a long tale of troubles and squabbles and empty bottles. The former beggar is down on his luck, apparently, and just needs a few extra crowns to get by. So I've got two decisions here, get back to work. So what's probably going to happen is here, get back to work. his morale is going to suffer, or go, here you go, have a few crowns, and maybe he'll maybe get a slight boost because he's just been paid and I've been nice to him. In this case, because we've got a big fight coming up, I'm probably going to give him a few crowns. So I spend 10 crowns and Asbjorn is content. So I spent 10 crowns, isn't too much. I've got about 400 left, I think. 374 left, and his morale didn't drop. If his morale dropped much more, he probably would have fought worse. So that would have been a bit bad. So as I'm just going around the map, I think I need to just try and find these tracks again to find who I need to fight to complete this quest. I'll just give you an idea of the world. So mainly it's a pseudo. It has fantasy elements in the world, but predominantly, at least early on, you're going to be fighting mainly humanoid enemies. So bandits, camp guards, fairly basic human type enemies. Think of it just as a pseudo realistic medieval world. There are some fantasy elements in the game, and what that means is there are some enemies. There are occasionally you might fight undead or orcs, so they'll fight in a different way. So you'll have zombies that aren't particularly tough, but then there'll be some undead enemies that really drop your morale, so you have to change your fight. You might come across orcs, you might play a bit more aggressive, but don't expect to have like mages in your party throwing around fireballs and sort of high fantasy stuff like that. So there are some fantasy elements in. There are a bit of undead. There's a bit of occasionally you might find a necromancer. There's some orcs in the game, but don't think of it as a world that there's going to be loads of magic and sort of 1,000 different race of sort of creatures and beings in the world. It's kind of some fancy elements in a relatively grounded, realistic medieval world. So, this is doing my contract. I think you lower yourself to the earth, letting some dirt filter through your fingers. But it is only dirt. There are no footprints here that have crossed its path. In fact, you haven't seen any footprints in a good while. Ludolf joins you, crouching low and shrugging. Sir, I think we lost him. You nod. Ulf the Elder won't be happy about this, but it is what it is. So I think I took a bit too long doing that contract, so I've got broken promises, so I've just lost that contract. So if I maybe go and try and find another contract with those guys, so they're probably not going to be particularly happy. Our relations might drop, but maybe I can find another contract to keep us going. A dog is snoring at the feet of Heinrich the Treasurer. He leans forward to gently pet the hound behind its ears. I hear you have a nose for finding people, Sellsword. For solving problems. You nod. It is true after all. Good, good. I have a task for you. A simple one. Something of great value to me has been stolen. My crystal skull. I need you to track down those who stole it, kill them, obviously, and bring it back the item. Let's talk pay. So 360 crowns. I'm going to see if we can get paid more than that. No, this is my final offer. You were to receive 360 crowns when the contract is done. So I could ask for payment in advance, but I'm just going to accept it because I've only just met these guys, so I'll be a bit generous just to get an in with them. So follow the tracks, return the crystal skull, and get paid. So let's see if I'm just going to buy a little bit more food. Maybe the prices are better here. Unfortunately, let's buy a bit of grain, so food will eventually spoil, so you've got to keep that in mind as well. So let's leave and let's go for a walk. So follow the tracks southeast of Steinhausen. Southeast is this way, so it looks like we might be going into this marsh. Where are we going? Maybe we'll see it better during the day. So that's the tracks of that caravan. So yeah, it looks like we're going into this marsh. This game really doesn't want me to sort of show off how the game works. I'm not quite sure what that is. Oh, hello, maybe it's down here. Either way, that's roughly southeast. And they move around, so... Where are you, boys? Either way, we should get a good fight on our hands. There we go, thieves. And because it's got that little gold coin there, we know it's our quest objective. So let's go and see if we can deal with these guys. And it's daytime, which is good. That's what I want to be fighting on. And let's go to our fight. So it's 9 on 7, so hopefully this shouldn't go too badly. So let's just have a quick load. Nice quick loading time, and here is the map. So I'll give you a very brief explanation as to how everything works. So in the bottom of the screen, you've got the initiative order of everyone. So if I'm facing to the right, I know it's one of my guys here on the left, facing to the right. So I can just hover over them, it will flag an arrow on them. And if they're facing right to left, I know it's one of the enemies. So the first one is going to be this brigand poacher. He's going to be shooting at us. Otherwise, it's going to be my guys. So I've made sure my archer guys have quite a high initiative and quite high fatigue by not having too much gear. So this means I can open them up with a shot. So this is the sort of level ground. So he can fire, I believe, it's 6 stars. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the game is split up into hexes. So he's going to be going first. Normally I'd move him to higher ground if he wasn't on it, but it looks like we're as high as we can get. So the terrain is going to be determined roughly where you fought. So when I was on the map and I came across this party, that was roughly kind of hilly terrain, so there's a few hills around, which is going to affect the combat. So having the high ground is really quite useful. So if I do a quick shot, I've got 9 action points, so a quick shot is going to take 4. We're going to do an aim shot, which is a bit more accurate, that's going to take 8. So a aim shot on these guys. So because I've got a height advantage, I'm flying over 6 hexes, so it's going to be a bit hard to hit at long range. That guy's got a shield, so he's got better range defense, so that's the range defense stat coming into effect there. But because I've got a height advantage, firing downhill, that's going to make him a bit easy to hit. So this guy's downhill, and he hasn't got a shield, so he's going to be a bit easy to hit. This guy's height advantage, but he's still at 6 distance. And this guy's, because he's got his line of sight blocked, he's only at 12% to hit, but that shield symbol with the arrow means I've got a chance to hit the guy in front. So let's go for a quick shot. So if I do a quick shot on a guy down the hill, it's going to be 36% chance to hit. However, I've given him the fast adaptation perk, which means if he misses, he gets a bonus to hit next time. So if I miss this shot, which is likely, I've then got fast adaptation, so I get plus 8% this time. Or is it plus 6%? Plus 8% this time. So 44. Managed to get a hit there, so did a bit of I think I hit him in the head there, because he's taking some head armour, and he's now wounded, and he's now wavering in his combat, and he's taken an injury. He's got a pierced cheek, which means he's a bit less effective. Crossbow guy, he can only fire once, so he's got to spend some action points to reload, but he's got a better hit chance. So this guy's got a shield. He is downhill, but he's got a shield, and my line of fire is blocked because of the steepness of the hill. 73 is quite good. I could try and finish this guy off just to drop the morale of the guys around him, so if I kill him, the morale of these two should drop. And 73 is pretty good. That'll do nicely, so I've dealt with him, and these guys aren't going to be particularly happy about that, and I'm going to spend my 7 remaining action points to reload. Hakon is my guy with the long spear, so if I move him around, it's going to be 2 to cover these same level. It's going to be 2 plus another one and some more fatigue to get up to the high ground, and it's going to cost a bit more to get to the higher ground. So let's get him in a good position just to do some attacks, because he can attack through these guys. That's going to make him a bit more useful, so he can stay kind of behind. This is Kurt, he is my good tank. Let's get him up into position. So I took a bit of fatigue and used some action points just to get him moving. Don't need to use any abilities, he's melee only, so I'm just going to get him to stand his ground. This is Rabe, he is also quite good in melee. Let's get him up to here just to sort of get shield wall start going. Oh, that was nasty. His archer took a couple of shots. Unfortunately, took a slight wound on Asbjorn there. I don't know why the cameras decided to switch out. We can get that back. So he's moving forward. He's trying to deal some damage to these guys before they can go. So I might try and move this guy down the hill just to get some flanking going on. For the moment, let's get Kunibert moving to there, spend most of his action points, and I can get downhill quite quickly from there. So, this guy. I can move 1 space to there and still use an attack, but I will be downhill. Because I've got height advantages, also a benefit in melee combat. So I don't particularly want him downhill, but I will give it a go anyway, just to get an attack on this guy, just to get kind of things opening up a bit. So if I move him to there, I can use 6 action points to go for it. So I've got a slight disadvantage to hit, because he is 29, because he's up a hill and he's got a shield. But let's go for it anyway. Unfortunately missed. And let's get Asbjorn going in, and let's go for a split shield. And you see his morale drop there, because I've got 2 guys surrounding a single guy. His morale's going to drop, and he's going to be a bit easier to hit. So I'm going to go for split shield, because axes are quite good against shields. And that's going to do some serious shield damage to him, so that makes his armour a bit less, which is quite nice. He uses speciality. And this guy, I'm going to get moving as quick as I can. Actually, I'm going to use him to hold the line here and move these 2 down. So let's get him to hold this shield wall. Not burn too much fatigue yet. So he's moving up, he's trying to go for kind of a flanking manoeuvre. So he's done a shield wall there, so he's going to be quite hard to take out. So maybe I can ignore him. And considering I've killed this guy, maybe I'm going to push up on him here and go for a shield wall, just to kind of hold him in place. And because Hakon's quite useful, let's just get him in a position to back up his colleagues. So Kurt, I need to get Kurt in decent range as quick as possible. So let's move the camera down slightly. So how much to move to there? That's going to be a bit of a stretch. He is going to be downhill there, unfortunately, but let's get him in a good position. Crossbow guy. So he has him firing there for fire into this Brigand Thug, because he is obscured slightly by my guy. I've got a small chance I might accidentally hit him. This guy is clear, 76%. 36% chance, but I might hit the guy in front. So let's try and take this guy out with 76. Nice, good hit on that. Dropped his morale, got him wounded, and he's got a pierced cheek as well. So crossbow's doing quite well. He's moving up. Kurt can deal with this guy quite easily, I think. And my archer. So the way it works is, if your target is obscured, there's a chance you might hit a target that is, say for example, if I'm firing over here, my guy's in the way, so there's a chance I might hit my friendly target. However, if the target, if my obscuring guy is one space in front of me, is adjacent, I'm not going to get a penalty. I can avoid hitting him because I can kind of lean over his shoulder, so to speak. So for example, he is an adjacent hex to Kurt, so I've got no risk of hitting Kurt because I'm right next to him, so I can just fire over his shoulder. This guy, because he's further away, I might hit my own guy. So 21 on this guy because he's got a shield. I don't want to shoot through my own guy here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We had unfortunately a phone call. I realised I left my phone on and I had a phone call I had to deal with while I was recording this video. But thankfully, because it's turn-based, I can just cut straight back to here. So as I was saying, I've now got a choice. I don't want to hit my own guy in combat. And I've got a decent chance to hit this Brigand Thug that's over here. So I might do 2 quick shots, because even if I miss, I've got a bonus chance to hit next time. So I can probably hit one of them next time. It's going to be just over 50%. Managed to hit him again. He is just alive, but I've done some serious damage to him. What I'm going to do now, I can move this guy downhill and get a flanking attack on this Brigand Thug. So if I move into flanking, it's going to drop his morale. And it's going to make him a bit easier to hit because I'm flanking, so I've got surrounded, so I've got a bonus to hit. Just go with a regular attack. Don't do anything fancy. Unfortunately, he still missed at 62%. Asbjorn, we can now kind of just push him up. And then just get a surrounding bonus on this guy. Now you do have what's called control zones. So for example, if I try to move here, each character has a control zone surrounding every adjacent space. So this dashed red area is all the enemy control zones. So as I'm in his control zone here, if I try and move out of the control zone, he gets a chance to do a free attack on me. If he hits me, I'm going to take a bit of damage, obviously, and it's also going to prevent me from moving. So it's called a zone of control. It also affects me, so if this guy tries to move out, both these guys are going to get a free attack if he tries to move out, and if we hit him, he is going to get prevented from moving. So it's a dangerous move, trying to move your guy directly out of combat. You want to try and use something like knockback, which if you've got a shield, you can knock him back and then try and get out of combat. It's got quite a high hit chance. Other than that, you can't just move your guys straight out of combat whenever you want without any sort of risk. So if they're severely wounded and they've got low morale, it might be a bit easier to get out because their morale's broken, but you have to be a bit careful about what you're planning on doing. Oh, so he took a couple of swings at my axe guy. Thankfully he actually missed because that could have been a bit dangerous. So let's go for another swing. Unfortunately uphill, but I've now got a surrounded bonus. So 36% to hit. Unfortunately he managed to block that. So he is just going to have to sit down there and deal with that. I probably should have... Oh, I can't really move because he's stuck in combat. So unfortunately my two-handed axe guy isn't doing too well. I probably should have used split shield just to take his shield down. But we'll see how we get on. His archer's going to take a shot. Aim shot, thankfully missed at that distance. And he's now going for a flank. This guy's got lucky stars. He really should have been hit by now. I've actually slightly misplaced my two-handed guy. And let's go for a split shield on him. 100% to hit. Smashed his shield. And I've got enough action points left to do a regular hit. Unfortunately missed that one. So this guy's used his mace. He's stunned my guy. So I'm going to lose my next turn. This guy has bottled it. He's taken too many wounds and he's just decided to flee. So he's having none of it. I can now get my spear guy, my pitchfork guy into combat. So surrounded and impale bonus. So I can fight through my guys and do a supporting attack. Unfortunately I missed with him. I'm not doing too well with some of these guys. Kurt's quite reliable. This guy, he's surrounded and he hasn't got a shield. So I'm just going to go to a couple of regular attacks. Kurt's really tanky. He doesn't need to use the shield wall at this point. So I've done 2 serious hits to him. Oh, he did a headshot to my guy there. That's not good. So crossbow. See if I can get a clean shot anywhere. Doesn't look like it. Oh, this guy's a clean shot. I'm not getting interfered. I think because he's downhill and he's quite far. Let's go for a hit on him. Fortunately missed. It's his first miss, to be fair, so we'll give him that one. He's stunned. He might lose his next turn. So I'm probably just going to see if I can poke this guy. Managed to get a hit on him. He's got his shield up, so it's going to be quite difficult. And I'll probably raise my shield just in case this guy takes a sort of risky shot. Shield wall up. This guy, again, flanking attacks. I can probably finish this guy. Nope, managed to miss. And he's got riposte up, so I need to be careful. Come on. Oh, he's missed again. He's useless. That's... no chance to hit my own guy there, because I'm adjacent to Kurt, so I can avoid any risk there. Let's try again. Bonus for the second shot, because I missed. Managed to finish him. Fortunately, my guy finally took a hit there. So I might go with a round swing. I can hit multiple of these guys. I do have a risk of hitting my own guy. So I need to think about what I actually want to do here. I could do split shield. Just take his shield out. Or I could do a regular attack. That's going to be very difficult to hit him and quite difficult to hit him. So I'm just going to try and break this guy's shield. Managed to break that. And that's going to burn all his... that's going to break down his defense. Unfortunately, because I'm wavering combat, because I've been surrounded, I've got penalties, and I'm running out of fatigue as well now. So I've kind of slightly misused my two-handed guy a bit this fight perhaps. So it's all about management of kind of long-term planning. Thankfully his shield's still up despite being stunned, but he lost his round there. So let's see if we can finish this guy off and then maybe move to surround this guy. Missed again. This guy, why would this guy die? I've taken 4 swings at this guy and he won't go down. This is starting to be annoying. Right, he's bottled it. Oh! Okay, apparently I took his head off. Not quite sure what happened there. So let's move Hakon into support position. Can move once and then still go for a stab on this guy. Still missed. Don't know what my guys are doing today. So I can move all my action points. Can't do an attack, but I can lock him in combat and surround him. Now this guy, I'm tempted to do a knockback just to get this guy out of the way. And then maybe I can follow up and get this guy locked in melee so he can't shoot me. So let's try a knockback attack. No, I pressed the wrong button. And that's just... how much is the attack? 40%. That's just him. Ah, we got a hit. Fair enough. Let's go for this guy. Nice shot. It's got a wound on him. Did we injure him? Pierced chest. That's probably going to make him lose fatigue. Went for a couple of hits. Managed to tank them. Now, can we finish this guy off? He's got a shield, which is quite hard to break with the spear. And he's taking some armor damage, though. Maybe we can do a bit more to him. Oh, a couple of hits, and he's got a split hand, which is nice. My archer, 21%. Or maybe go for an aim shot. Let's go to 41%. Nice shots. Good job. And let's move in maybe to flank. I've got 4 action points is enough, because I'm going up a hill. It's a bit more fatigue to maybe finish this guy. Nope, managed to tank it. Come on. Right, can you hit this guy? I've got 3 people surrounding him. There we go. Finally took him out. And my guy's got a bit of morale back. Took his head off, actually. It was a headshot. This guy's just going to sit there, stay out of sight. Oh, he's finally gained his morale back enough to get back in the fight, but he's still got low morale. He's still wavering morale. He's got loads of injuries and he's pretty weak, so I don't really have to deal with him too much. Just move this guy up. We're probably not going to need him, but might as well get him in a position he can do something if we need to. Kurt, let's just move you around. Crossbow guy, I think there's a good chance we can hit him. And there's no symbols like that coming up, so don't have to worry about our own guys. Dealt with you. He's surrounded, so when we can finish this guy off. Block the first one. Dealt with the second one. Let's burn some of your action points to close the distance with this guy. Get a bit of experience just to finish him off. What's he going to do? Is he going to try and fight me? Nope, he's had enough. Let's see, I don't think we can shoot that guy at that distance. Let's just try and get him in a position where I can next turn, if there is a next turn. So this fight's gone pretty well. Haven't taken any... Thankfully this guy got lucky, didn't take too many hits, didn't take any injuries. Let's just leave him over there. This guy's got an injury, pierced cheek, -3 fatigue recovery a 10. I don't think he's going to be able to close him down. So let's just get his shield up, just in case. That's no point really, but let's just sit him there. You can sit there, and now he's going to be running off. He's nearly dead. I can decide to run them down or decide it's over. I don't want to chase him. I'm just going to say, let's just say it's over. Let's let him run. So that's the end report. So I've got 3 level ups, and a couple of wounds, so I might be out, won't be able to fight with these guys for a while, and I've got an injury or 2 as well. And there's all my loot. Got a few different things, so I can mainly probably sell this, and some of it might be worth keeping. Got a bit of armour actually there, so that might be worth equipping on one of our guys. I forgot to press the loot button. That's help. I'm having a mare today, so I forgot to press the loot button, but that's no good. Well, you found those responsible for stealing the crystal and put them to the sword. Now you just need to put the crystal skull back into Heinrich the Treasurer's hand and get your reward. Let's collect our pay. So I was worried for a second that that guy might have run off with it, but apparently because I won that fight I did get them, so let's just go back and get paid. And this bit is pretty nice. So one thing I will say as I'm travelling, you know this bit now, I'm just going to go back and get my reward. All that combat stuff I showed you in the game, how all the mechanics work in that fight, and how some of the general mechanics work anyway. The game doesn't do a fantastic job of explaining this to you. There are a couple of tutorial videos. In the main menu there is a button called tutorial videos. If you click that, it takes you to a couple of YouTube links, which are made by the developers, just showing off some of the combat mechanics. I advise, if you get the game, if you're still unsure, go and watch those videos if you get the game. However, there is a little sort of starting tutorial level in the game, which I think could have done a better job of explaining more of this stuff in-game. One of the minor gripes I do have with this game is I don't want to have to go and watch 2 separate tutorial videos just to know what I'm doing. I think they could have explained mechanics in a couple of tutorial things and just the first time you go to a town just explaining how everything works. You do have to learn a bit just to understand what's properly going on, and I think the game could have done a better job of just explaining that through just a couple of basic missions. However, that being said, once you do learn it, it is kind of permanent and it's not particularly complicated. It is fairly self-explanatory. Most of it's sensical. Most of it is stuff you would expect, but it could have just done a little bit of a better job explaining how some of the mechanics work. So minor gripe, but once you get over that kind of little initial hump and you understand what's going on, watch those videos, you should be okay to really understand what's going on. So, when you return to Heinrich the Treasurer, he is playing with a bird in a cage. Ah, the sellsword returns. And? You hold up the artifact and set it on his desk. He takes it, turns it, nods, and then puts it away. Excellent, and for your troubles. He waves a hand to a wooden chest filled with crowns. You gain 360 crowns. Crowns well deserved. So, I'm back at the town, and I think that's pretty much a decent and hopefully thorough enough explanation of what's going on. So if you have any more questions, sorry it was a bit of a wall of information. This video is probably going to be longer than I intended it to be. And apologies for the cut in the middle of the video. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you have any more questions about the game, please leave them below in the comments. I've been the Reaper, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.